Hello, and welcome to this overview of social class difference, where the gentleman outranks the lady. I'm Olivia, your favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot. You're watching Random Olive Reads. So, what is social class difference? Why is it important? Well, within historical romance, it's socially expected to marry within the same class. This is to ensure good breeding and maintain the social status of all the parties involved. For lords of the ton, they're encouraged to marry proper wives to breed heirs. And if a man falls in love with a woman of lesser status, the socially acceptable route is to make her his mistress while he marries someone else. An Affair with the Viscount by Sadie Bosk is book 5 of the Necessary Arrangements series. Richard is an overbearing Viscount who's interested in an affair with an actress, Josephine, even though he will soon be betrothed to another proper young lady. Josephine rejects his advances at first, but finds herself attracted to him and wanting to give in. With her past experiences with not so worthy gentlemen, she's definitely wary and has a hard time trusting him. She's totally proven right when she finds out that Richard is betrothed and he has a lot to overcome to win her back. We get a little bit of external drama here with Josephine's friend and another actor being forceful and vile, but Richard comes to the rescue in his overbearing ways. I liked seeing Richard soften over time and realize that he can't live without Josephine, and then seeing the support of his family. The Duke and the Dressmaker by Eva Devon is book 2 of the Once Upon a Wallflower series. Newly inherited Duke James attempts to find and rescue a young woman at a tavern and then finds out that she's the sister of his missing ward. Lily and Violet are granddaughters of the old Duke, but not part of society due to their mother's scandalous marriage to a French painter. Now orphaned and impoverished, Lily works as a dressmaker's seamstress while caring for her younger sister. James insists that they both move into the ducal townhouse, and after a bit of disagreement, they do. James and Lily are starting to stir up a scandal with all the time they are spending together unchaperoned, as much as they try to keep things proper. They do ultimately get married since Lily is so good at managing James's household, but conflict looms ahead as James plans to leave England without having mentioned his plans to Lily. The Governess and the Duke is book 2 of the Renegade Duke series. Viola is the governess to one Duke's rambunctious ward with a long standing crush on that Duke's best friend. When traveling with her charge, the teenage girl falls and sprains her ankle, forcing the pair to stay at James's ducal castle. Although James has been hiding away in the country after the embarrassment of a rejected proposal, he finds himself intrigued and attracted to Viola and wondering why he had never noticed her before. Both James and Viola try to fight their attraction to each other at first, being of different social standing, but that doesn't last for too long. Viola's charge and James's sister become fast friends and cause all sorts of trouble, which is humorous to read. Bookshop Cinderella by Laura Lee Gerke is book 1 of the Scandal at the Savoy series. Max is doing a favor for his cousin by collecting research and plans for a dinner party from the bookseller Evie. When he meets her, he's tailed by a few boisterous younger men who disparage Evie's plain and bookish demeanor. He ends up wagering that with a bit of polish, she'll be able to fill her dance card at a ball in 6 weeks' time. Max tries to enlist Evie to be part of his wager, but she refuses at first until a boiler bursts in her bookshop, closing it down and leaving her without a place to stay. Evie has basically been alone in running her shop and barely making ends meet, and has never experienced any balls or parties, so Max's offer forces her to experience new things. Meanwhile, as a duke with no heirs, Max is seeking the perfect society wife and trying to learn from the mistakes he made with his first wife. While Max and Evie grow closer with their talking and banter, they both know that the social class differences between them would be unrealistic to try to overcome. Surrender to the Devil by Lorraine Heath is book 3 of the Scoundrels of St. James series. Sterling is a new duke who has been traveling for many years and newly back in England. At his sister's wedding, he's intrigued by Franny being surrounded by her scoundrel friends in a protective manner. Of course, he decides that he's attracted to her and propositions her almost immediately. Meanwhile, Franny is also intrigued by the man who looks at her with desire instead of concern and protection. She grew up in the streets, was sold into a brothel at age 12 before being rescued, and has not been interested in a man since then. While she initially rejects Sterling's proposition, she is certainly considering it. Franny and Sterling continue to orbit around each other in various ways, but Sterling starts to become impressed by Franny's selflessness and care towards orphans. Even though both know that Sterling is not willing to marry Franny, they still slowly end up falling in love. The Heiress Bride by Madeline Hunter is book three of the Duke's Heiresses series. New Duke Nicholas is still adjusting to his inherited status and feeling the stress of his responsibilities. He's surprised when he receives a visit from the last of the late Duke's heiresses, Iris. She is a rare book dealer and has come to ask about a particular rare book that the late Duke had said he would help her in finding. Iris had only recently learned that the Duke had passed away and is completely surprised by her inheritance. Nicholas agrees to assist her in finding the book, but is also suspicious of Iris, so he wants to keep a close eye on her. This is another book in the series where the two main characters really start on opposite sides of an argument, but also can't seem to stay away from each other. This book was really interesting in terms of Iris's family history and scandal with her grandfather. And then we also reopen the investigation into the late Duke's death and wonder if Iris or Nicholas become targets for violence as well. A Perfect Bride by Samantha James is book one of the Sterling family series. Sebastian is a stuffy Marquess who avoids a scandal because of a big family scandal he suffered when his mother ran away with her lover. When he stumbles upon an injured woman in the streets, he brings her home to care for, even though he thinks she's a prostitute and a thief. Devon is neither of these things, just a young woman trying to survive in her impoverished conditions. Devon and Sebastian argue and bicker and definitely don't trust each other, but still end up intensely attracted to each other. Neither are thinking ahead to the future when they embark on a physical relationship, but it's Sebastian who needs to get over his fear of scandal if he wants a future with Devon. The Duke Starts a Scandal by Sophie Jordan is book four of the Duke Hunt series. A new Duke and his housekeeper have gotten off to a rocky start and seem to have a contentious relationship. Susanna has been the housekeeper at the estate despite her relatively young age for the role and is annoyed by the arrogance of the new Duke. Lucian had lived in poverty with his younger sisters until it was discovered that he was the Duke, and he has a scandalous secret of how he earned money to support his family. These two don't trust each other much, but Lucian's irritation is mostly due to the stress of his new role and the attraction he feels for Susanna. A house party that Lucian sets up causes more trouble as Susanna is confronted by a man who knew her when she was young. We get to find out Susanna's secrets and what brought her to work as a maid and then housekeeper all those years ago. The romance between Lucian and Susanna is pretty straightforward once we get past the disgruntled misconceptions they have of each other, and we get to see how these two become a team. It Happened One Midnight is book eight of the Pennyroyal Green series by Julianne Long. Jonathan is the youngest son of a wealthy gentleman and told he must marry appropriately within the year to retain his allowance, except that Jonathan has no intention of marrying and is more interested in his newfound investments. When he crosses paths with Thomasina, he believes that he's immune to her charms and mostly irritated by her antics. Except we soon learn that Tommy has a soft heart and is secretly rescuing children from untenable situations. The soft hearted Jonathan gets caught up in the scheme as well, and then these two, oh so slowly, fall in love. We've got a few more of Tommy's secrets to uncover along the way, and we get to see Jonathan grow a backbone and some principle as well. It's Hard Out Here for a Duke by Maya Rodal is book four of the Keeping Up with the Cavendishes series. James and his sisters are bound for London to take up his new role as Duke, but he enjoys one last night as just James with a beautiful woman he meets at a tavern. Meredith is traveling back to her role as Duchess's companion when she meets James's eye across the tavern and decides to take this one opportunity for passion before she continues being a proper companion. Of course, they're in for some bad luck when they realize that they're stuck in the same household with completely disparate social stations and they need to forget their one night stand ever happened. While James struggles with his new role and responsibilities, he is continually tempted by the presence of Meredith and wishes he could give everything up to be with her instead. Meredith is the one that's usually sensible and explains to James the way of the Ton and how their relationship would be completely inappropriate. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found a book or two to add to your TBR. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe to get updates, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.